Hi, thanks for joining me. Thank you for all the birthday wishes on me turning 60. I've had the best weekend and I've had lots of family come to visit. Unfortunately, a couple of family members couldn't come because they contracted COVID. So, as you know, COVID upsets so many plans, but it's something that can't be helped. It's just better that they get well themselves and look after their health. And we'll get to see each other at another time. Thank you for the comments on my haircut. I've had it all chopped off and it's all just left all curly today because I couldn't be bothered blow drying it. So thanks for the nice compliments. Thanks for the birthday wishes. I really appreciate it. I'm talking today again a little bit about perception, and I made a video the other day trying to explain how we perceive things differently. So someone will read a statement, and depending on how you feel about yourself, how you see the world, will depend on how you perceive the statement. So if I was writing that if you were someone who was positive, you would see it as a good thing. If you were someone who was a worried, anxious person, you would see it as a fearful thing. If you were skeptical, you would see it as an untruth. If you were a very depressed person, you wouldn't even care what you read, because when you're in that depressed mode, you just don't care about anything. So I was explaining how, so that's that's just four. There's so many different perceptions. So that doesn't mean that what you're reading is truth to all. It's just truth to you. But what happened was I put the video up on different social media platforms, and I used an example of, I said, what if you heard a statement like, around the world there's just going to be one money system. It was something along those lines as an example. And so I was using that as an example. So, if you're a fearful person, you might see that as, oh, I don't want that to happen, we can't go into that. Or if you're a confident person, you would read it. I mean, if you were a positive person, you would read it as great, something new. And I was sort of explaining the different perceptions. But what ended up happening was I was getting people writing to me saying, it will never happen. The world will rise up before that happens. And I'm like, what? We won't ever see each other's perceptions. And they were like, no, we won't ever go into a one world money system. And I said, if you watch that video again, you might understand that that was just an example. I wasn't stating a fact. I said, what if you saw a statement like this, like as an example? And it happens a lot where people comprehend things differently, or they half read something and they don't really read it fully. And it happens so much when I am saying something. Many times I'm speaking about a certain topic and people take it their way, which is what I'm saying about perception. You're going to see things and perceive things from your way, from what goes on in your mind. So all your experiences throughout your life, whatever's happened to you in your life, the experiences that you've been through in past lives and in this life, creates your belief system. So when you read things, you read them and you comprehend them from your belief system. But what seems to be something that I question a lot is when somebody will write in their comments and they give their perception, perfectly open to someone giving their perception, that's how they see things. But when they tell other people to go and research it, they won't give you an answer, they'll just say go and research it. But if I go and research something that you researched, I'm still going to have a different perception. Like, someone was talking to me the other day about the WHO treaty, or what is my guides, one of the comments was, what have my guides shown me about the WHO treaty? And I wrote, nothing. My guides have not showed me anything about that. And the next comment was, well, they should, because it's really important. And I said, not to my guides. It's important to you. It's not important to my guides. My guides have a huge picture of what's going on in the world. And if they don't think that's going to affect anything at all, they won't give it to, they won't share any information with me, because it's irrelevant to them. It's what they're seeing in this bigger picture. It's irrelevant. Because that's your focus, that doesn't mean you speak to your own guides. You've all got guides. You've all got people on the other side that see everything that's coming up ahead. They see the past, the present, and they see the future. It's already laid out there. So ask them yourself. If you're so worried about things that you're reading, turn to your guides. Do a meditation. Get into that place where your ego is having a little sleep, and go into that meditated state where you see things on a much deeper level, on a much consciously aware level, and then ask, is this something I should be concerned about? And if you get a yes, be concerned about it, then ask, what can I do? What can I do? Because, you know, I do watch Russell Brand's YouTubes. I find him to be very informative. He finds things that are written which seem to be factual. I watch Dr. John Campbell, who seems to be the same. He uses what I consider to be facts. Like, sometimes facts it's a fine line between facts too. I will watch the World Economic Forum, which is Davos. I will watch the interviews that speakers, they're getting up and speaking, and quite often I find them to be very, very positive. I see them make a speech and they want to change things, and they don't agree with the war, and they come from the same perception as me. I look at them and I think, yep, that's very intelligent. I can see what they're trying to do. Yet somebody else could watch that same interview or find some information on the internet and turn it around to come from their perception, and then it's totally different. It's totally different to my perception. It doesn't mean that mine's right and theirs is wrong, and theirs is right and mine's wrong. It just means we're seeing things differently. It's the cup half full, isn't it? Depending on how you see things. So my question is, when you see things a certain way, why do you have to convince other people to see it the same way as you? Because in the past I've done that. I've thought, oh no, I know something about, like, I died. I saw what it's like on the other side, and even before that, my guides would always show me, like, when I connect with a loved one who's passed over, I see what it's like on the other side in my meditated state. And years ago, I used to want to tell people the way I saw it so that they saw it the same way. And I stop myself now. Like the other day, there was a young boy on TikTok and his mum had passed away. And he was telling his story about his mum, and he was saying how he looks at the stars at night and he sees his mum in a star, and that star moves away and sometimes it fades. And for him, it feels like she's going away. She's moving further and further away from him. And he was just heartbroken. Like the way he was speaking, he was broken. And I really wanted to comment and say, we don't go far away when we die. We stay here. She's right with you. But I thought, no, because if he had have come to me, if he came to me and he asked me where his mum was, then I can share that information. But for me to go onto his page and tell him the way I see it, that he didn't need that at this time. At this time in his life, he needed to see things his way. He wanted to think his mum was in this as a star and she was going away. That's what he wants to think at this time. So it's not my job to go onto other people's pages and start telling them how it is. I kind of pull myself up and stop myself. And sometimes I've slipped. I've thought, oh no, and I do it from a place of, I want to help comfort you. You know, I want to help you. But I've really stopped and pulled myself back and said, no. If they come to me and ask for some kind of spiritual help or for predictions, or can I connect with them on the other side? Can I get messages? Absolutely, I will share everything. But it's not my job to go to them and start telling them how they have to see things because I see it a certain way. So this is where I like to ask the question, if you're telling everybody else to wake up, or you're telling everyone else to look under the surface and see information that's not there, why is it your job? Who gave you that job? Who told you that you have to come into this earth and change everyone else's opinion to match yours? Well, did God give you a message one night and say, okay, you've got to go out there and change everyone else's opinions? Like, is it your ego? Is your ego saying, okay, I'm so right about this, I have to get everyone else to see the same way as me? Or is there something in you that is so frightened that if other people don't see things the same way that you do, you're going to get sucked into the story is going to happen? Especially if you've got theories on what's going to unfold in the world. Are you frightened that people are going to comply? If the government's going to take over and people are going to comply, it's going to be so powerful that you're not going to have any control at all. You're going to get sucked into that. You're going to have to comply with them. And is that your fear? Is your fear that if I don't stop this from happening now, my life's going to be affected? And I don't want my life to look like that. I want my life to look like a certain way. So is that your motivation for wanting to make everyone else see things the same way as you? Because you're never going to do that. As long as your ass points to the ground, you are never going to get everybody to see things exactly the same way as you. It can't happen. We're different people. We have different backgrounds. We have different beliefs. And I learned years ago, that was a very long time ago, and I learned the hard way, because I was so excited when I first I was in my early 20s and I was doing all this spiritual work and I was going to meditation classes, and it was like I'd come home. You know, when you reconnect your ego self to your higher self, when they connect again, it's like coming home. You find yourself again. And when you've been disconnected, it's just the most beautiful feeling. And you just want to share it. Like, you just want to convince everybody else that there's a better way to do this, you know? And I remember telling somebody, we were just at home and there was some people over, and I was, because I'd awakened all this instinct in me, you know, like I could just see stuff and I could read people. And I remember telling him about his mum. I just started blurting out that his mum was going to have a knee operation, and she'd get through it, and you know, it'd be really good for her. And I was thinking I was doing the right thing. I thought, I'm helping him. I'm giving him a vision for the future. I'm telling him that his mum's going to have and he took it totally the wrong way. He said, how dare you tell me something I didn't ask for? And it really put me back in my place. And so it taught me big time that just because I can see things privately with people, it does not mean I have to go up and share that with them. Because that was Spirit giving me a massive lesson in my own ego. It is not my journey to always make other people see things the same way that I do. So if they ask me, if someone asks me, can you see something with my mum, or can you see something with my, absolutely. Like, it's like opening a floodgate. You ask me and I'm like, it's all going to come out. But I won't personally go up to somebody now and just say, oh, by the way, I just had this vision about you, without them asking my permission. Because it's not, that was just feeding my own ego and saving someone else. Like, I know as an empath, you just want to save other people, especially when you're older and you've been through something, you've made mistakes and you've learnt from them. You can see around corners, so to speak, and you try to help somebody else to have that information. But sometimes they can't just have that information. They have to actually go through it, stuff it up, learn from the experience, and then they get it. As much as you can try and advise somebody, you especially find this with kids, you've been through stuff yourself, you've gained the knowledge. I remember my dad telling me once, don't buy into this business. It was an organics shop, I was thinking, this is the way of the future. The future is going into organic foods and homegrown foods and selling a lot of produce that's local and helping local businesses, the local honey people. And I used to sell everything like that. And my dad was saying to me, don't go into it. You'll lose all your money if you go into it. And I wouldn't listen. I didn't listen to him. I thought, what would you, I mean, my dad ran his own business successfully for years, so he would know. But I thought, no, this is where we're going, Dad. We're going into organics. We're going into all this. And that business just totally went broke. People drove straight past my house to go to Woolworths and Coles to buy all their products from there. They didn't want to buy local. They didn't want to come in and buy. It was the wrong timing, And it was in the wrong area. It was in an area where the economics of the people that lived there was low income level. So organics are more expensive than than generated products. So they couldn't afford it. And had I had that same business in a different location, yeah, it probably would have been really successful. But my dad was warning me, but I didn't listen. I still went ahead and did it and lost all my money. Like, totally went broke from it. But I got the lesson. And I think we are like that. We have, so many times we have to actually go through things before we get it. So it doesn't matter if you're beating your head against a brick wall trying to run out there and save everybody from themselves and convince everybody to see things your way. You can be doing that. You could be doing that for the rest of your life and nothing's going to change. So I think being informed is great. If you've got information that you feel is valid and from a reputable source, because I have so many people that send me links in my private messages. They'll read something and they'll send me a link and say, you need to watch this. I don't believe whatever. I'll open it up and I think, okay, so where's this coming from? Where's this source coming from? Does it feel like, does my gut instinct tell me that this is someone who's just giving their opinion? Is this true facts? So quite often I just straight away use my instinct. If I get a link sent to me, I look at it and go, no, that's just somebody that's made something up to suit themselves. Other times I get a, yep, this is worth looking into, I'll read it further. It has to have that feeling, is this true? Like, because so much stuff can be manufactured on the internet. And so many people can tell you things and you believe it. You'll always go looking, you go looking for what you believe in, and you'll always find it. If you see things in a certain way, that is manifesting and attracting back to you. If you see things a certain way and believe things a certain way, you'll always find a story that matches your belief, always. Because that's what manifesting is. The way you see yourself, the way you believe, the way you think, it's all a frequency. The frequency goes out and you attract back to you what interests you, what aligns with you. And then you think it must be true because it's aligning with you. And someone else is doing the total opposite of you. They totally believe the opposite of you, and they are attracting to them. It's a little bit like when someone says, I'm not going to get sick. They just do not ever think they're going to get sick. They convince themselves they will never ever get sick, and they don't. They don't. A flu can go around, a gastro can come around. They can be right in the middle of it. They are so convinced that they won't get sick. They won't actually catch what everyone else has got. And someone else that thinks, oh my God, I catch everything that's going around, they will get it. It depends on our mindset. So you're always going to find, whatever you believe, you're going to find something to read on the internet that's going to line up with your beliefs. But I just keep reminding myself, it's not, my journey is my journey, and somebody else's journey is their journey. If they ask me for some help, I am only too happy to help them with, if I can connect with spirit and give them what they're asking for. But if they don't ask me, I'm not just going to go up to someone in the street and start telling them stuff because of the way I think. So it's so interesting, this, once you really get into that, yeah, that's just their perception. Their perception's different to mine, and I'm going to let them go on their journey. Let them be. I'll be me, and let them be them. So thank you again for listening to me, and thank you again for all the birthday wishes. This turning 60 feels very liberating. From 50 to 60, I think I probably went through more in those 10 years than I have for the 50 years beforehand. I went through everything in between 50 and 60 of losing the person I was, the one I had created, finding the one I'm creating, just getting so much toxins out of my life, out of my internal life, out of my external life, and creating something totally different from me. So 60 onwards just feels like a wonderful journey. So thank you again for listening to me.